We begin this morning with new uncertainty over the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, and the health care coverage of millions of Americans. Late Friday night, a federal judge in Texas ruled the law unconstitutional.
But supporters of Obamacare are promising to appeal the decision. They're concerned the ruling could strip coverage from millions of Americans with pre-existing conditions. As a result, a number of insurance groups, patient advocates, and healthcare providers denounced the ruling.
Despite the apparent victory for the Trump administration, the White House says the Affordable Care Act will remain in place while the issue plays out in court. Kenneth Craig joins us with the details. Kenneth, good morning.
Well, good morning to you. The Affordable Care Act has stood up to prior legislative and legal challenges and has been upheld twice by the Supreme Court. But the judge cited another landmark piece of legislation passed just last year in striking Obamacare down this time.
Great for our country, great for the American people. Thank you all.
It has been nearly 1 year since President Trump signed into law the tax cut bill passed with 0 Democratic votes in Congress. And now, one part of the legislation is impacting the future of the Affordable Care Act. The law eliminated the individual mandate, a penalty considered a tax by the Supreme Court for anyone who does not have health insurance. In a lawsuit backed by 19 Republican attorneys general and 1 Republican governor, argues that since the penalty has been eliminated, Obamacare is no longer constitutional. In a 55-page ruling, Judge Reed O'Connor agreed, writing the penalty can no longer be fairly read as an exercise of Congress's tax power. Reaction to the decision was swift. Nancy Pelosi, who is likely to become Speaker when Democrats take control of the House next month, called the ruling absurd and promised to protect the Affordable Care Act. Meanwhile, in an interview on Fox News, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton touted the decision as a victory. He's one of the lawsuit's prominent backers.
We believe from the very beginning it was unconstitutional, and we think the judge did the right thing.
And President Trump tweeted his satisfaction and called on Congress to pass a new health care law.
And we're going to sign this bill.
Since President Obama signed the Affordable Care Act into law in 2010, about 20 million people have gained health insurance coverage. But the law has been frequently targeted by Republicans both in Congress and in the courts. President Trump campaigned on killing the Affordable Care Act and came close. But a repeal measure in the Senate came up short when the late Arizona Senator John McCain cast the decisive vote.
The incoming Democratic majority in the House could pass legislation of its own, keeping in place certain popular provisions of Obamacare, such as protecting coverage for patients with pre-existing conditions. But a Republican-controlled Senate and President Trump, of course, would have to sign off on that. And one last note, today is the enrollment deadline for anyone seeking coverage under the Affordable Care Act for 2019, Anthony.
Important note, Kenneth. Thank you very much.